Hey, I'm Cal Fussman, and I'm ready to Luminate.
The Austin Chronicle describes your interviewing skills as peerless. Tim Ferriss calls you a verbal Jedi. Your accomplishments are truly nothing short of iconic. And one of the many remarkable things I've learned from you is to always aim for the heart first with our questions. So when did you realize that asking questions was a natural fit for you?
It's a really good question, and it's the story that really gets to the essence of my journey. And it goes back to November 1963. I'm in second grade, and I'm sitting in the middle of the classroom when Miss Jaffe walks out the door. She comes back in a few minutes later, and she is just pale. And she tells us that President Kennedy's just been shot. And we're all let out of school, go home, and Lyndon B. Johnson sworn in as the new president. And I'm sitting at this kitchen table, and I'm trying to grasp what's happening. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy, Lyndon B. Johnson, I bet you he wanted to be president. Does that make him happy? Or is he sad because he's only president because Kennedy's been assassinated? Or maybe he's scared that they're gonna try and kill him too. So I pick up a piece of paper and I write, "Dear President Johnson, what does it feel like?" And I start to ask him if he's happy, if he was sad, if he's scared. It's not a long letter, but I wish him well. 6 months later, my mom comes racing up the steps to the apartment, and she's got this letter from the president. In that moment, I knew that a simple question could get you to the most powerful person on the planet. And it basically put me on the course for the rest of my life.
Over your career, you really have interviewed some of the most influential and interesting people really on the planet. Who would you say was your most challenging interview, and what did you learn from it?
I was interviewing the famous defense attorney, Epley Bailey. He was famous in the OJ trial, and he said to me, "Okay, look, you got 2 hours. Once this 2 hours up, I'm going to my case, and you're not going to be able to get a hold of me." This was my first Esquire magazine, What I've Learned interview. And I went out and I bought a new tape recorder. I put the recorder down. Sometimes it's rolling when he's talking, but I keep seeing it stopping and starting, stopping and starting, and I'm nervous. The interview ends, and I want to listen immediately because I know something's up. And that's when I can hear that half of his answers are cut off. From that day on, I was always prepared with 2 recorders, and it's really a great lesson in preparation. And so what I found were so many of the things that I learned in interviewing work in all these other professions.
A big part of what you're doing now is helping organizations ask better questions to get better results. So in terms of hiring someone new, what are some of the questions we should be asking to make sure that that person is the right fit?
You gotta wonder, who are my applicants? There's a lot of thought that should be going into this process as opposed to, here's the job and where'd you go to school? Because once you do that, your mission is, okay, how am I gonna weed people out? Let me see if I can get this person out of here on the first question. There's an expression in hiring, you get hired for what you've done and you get fired for who you are. There are ways of finding out about people and getting to their essence. And my feeling is, if you just overlapped the preparation that I went into to interview Mikhail Gorbachev or Robert De Niro and applied it to interviewing, you're gonna get to the bottom of these people.
Of course, not only should we be asking better questions to others, as leaders, we should also be asking better questions to ourselves. So for all the leaders out there, what questions should they be asking themselves every single day?
You should be looking at the things you want to change. I'll give you a classic example. So I'm giving a speech, and then the president of a company came up and said to me, I would love to speak, but I can't do it. I can't get in front of people. And I said, well, like, what if you change your questions? Could you speak in front of a mirror? Could you speak in front of a mirror until you memorized what you wanted to speak? After you had completely memorized this, could you walk out in front of a group of people and just pretend you were looking in the mirror? And I got an email from her about a month and a half later saying, like, you wouldn't believe it. I got in front of the mirror, I practiced, went in front of a group. They loved it. They want to have me back. Here, with only 3 questions, we were able to change the way she looked at it. You can do that with any problem. So when somebody tells me that they have a problem with a certain thing, I'm convinced that just by having them change their questions, they can start on a journey to solve the problem.
So a lot of us might help make the strategies you've used that help